Hello and welcome back to UIWtv. My name is Abigail Velez.
And I'm Matthew Falatich.
Election day is finally here. Now, Matthew, did you get the chance to go out and vote?
I'm going to vote tonight, just hoping that that traffic of everybody going after work is not going to be as much. How about you, Abigail?
I was able to early vote, and as a voter registrar, I registered other people to vote. So it's been a really exciting election cycle for me this year.
Oh yeah, has it not been?
Let us take a look at Election Day here on campus. Now, this is just a reminder to our viewers that official Election Day results could take days to confirm. This is because of the number of mail-in and absentee ballots that have yet to be counted. The numbers that will be analyzed and projected throughout this Election Day are from early voting.
Now, since we are in an environment of young voters here at UIW, let's talk a little bit to the students on campus about Election Day. We have our own Itchel Villarreal outside the AD courtyard right now. Itchel, what do you have for us?
Thank you, Matthew. I'm Michelle Villarreal, and I'm here with the UIW student. Now, have you voted already?
Yes, I have voted.
Why do you think it's important for young people to vote?
Well, I think it's really important for young people to exercise their right to vote because I think young people really should be exercising their right to vote, especially since a lot of people don't have that right. And so it's really a privilege to be able to have that accessibility to vote. But yeah.
Why? What do you think is at stake in this election?
Well, there's a lot at stake, but I feel like the biggest thing at stake this election is the fact that women's reproductive rights could be at risk, for sure.
Thank you so much for your time. This is Michelle Villarreal. Back to you guys at the studio.
Thank you, Itchel. It is crucial for students to go out there and vote. We all can make a big difference if we do so. Now, 27% of registered voters in Bexar County made their way to the polls during early voting, but that's still a lower percentage than what we have seen in previous years. Early voting numbers are down since 2018 nationwide, especially here in Texas. The voting turnout percentage could change following this election day due to mail-in ballots.
We'll be right back, but stay tuned because after the break, we will hear from a political analyst about this election.
You are watching UIWtv.
Welcome back. I'm Abigail Velez, and I am here with political science professor Dr. Matroka. Thank you for being here today.
Happy to be here.
So this election has gotten a lot of attention, and being that it's a midterm election, that's a little bit surprising. Can you tell us about what's the major difference from this election compared to others?
I think one of the big differences for this midterm election is that the United States Senate is extraordinarily close. The U.S. House of Representatives may flip tonight. So there's a lot at stake moving forward for the remaining 2 years of President Biden's first term.
One issue that a lot of people feel close to is voter security and if their vote is actually being secure. Can you talk to us a little bit about how the polls are secured this year and if that's an issue that people should really worry about?
I think the integrity of the vote is always going to be an issue that we should care about in a democracy. You might have heard in recent years Texas has taken several steps, arguably, to guarantee the security of the vote. In practice, systematic voter fraud, there's very little evidence of that. However, I think at a basic level, we should all generally be concerned about the ability to cast our vote and know that it's being counted.
Yes, absolutely. And being that there's so many first-time voters this election, it might be their first time at the polls. What advice do you have to them when gaining information about voting and which candidate to vote for?
Well, that's ultimately a decision for each individual voter to make. But if you're looking for information, you're unsure, how do I evaluate candidates? The League of Women Voters publishes a guide in Bexar County every election cycle where they survey the candidates themselves and they get to explain to you their positions on issues. You can also go to vote411.org and get information. And if you're concerned about the voting process, you can visit the Texas Secretary of State website.
Absolutely. And Dr. Mitroka, this might feel like preaching to the choir, but as you know, there are a lot of important issues on the ballot. Can you talk to us about what issues are most prominent this election cycle, and what do you think people feel really called to do in this form of action?
If you look at some of the polling data that's emerged in the lead up to this election, across the board, the economy and inflation tends to top lists of most important issues. If you dig a little deeper and you split the data and you isolate 18 to 29-year-olds, for example, climate change is ranked higher than it is throughout the rest of the electorate, as is gun policy, as is the issue of abortion. Younger voters tend to align more so with the Democratic Party, so you see that reflected in the data on the issue preferences.
And we expected a large percentage of voter turnout in early voting, and that's just not what we're seeing with the data. Can you explain to us why that might be?
In Texas this year, we don't have a Senate race, so we don't really have the same level of marquee race that we did in 2018 between Beto O'Rourke and Ted Cruz. Beto O'Rourke is on the ballot in the governor's race. Polling indicates that race is close, but not that close. It would be an upset based on the data we see if Beto would win. And there's also Beto and Abbott, the two candidates for the governor's race. They're kind of known entities. There's not the same amount of excitement that you might see for a new novel candidate.
And that's a juxtaposition from what we saw in 2018 with Beto and Ted Cruz. And I definitely can see what you mean by that. Being now that UIW is offering transportation to UIW students to get to the polls, this is obviously a great move to have first-time voters go out and vote. Do you think that this is something that all campuses should do if they don't have voting on campus?
I think if we're concerned about making sure that we have more access to the vote, the more we can do to eliminate those barriers and costs, we should certainly do them. And so it's great that the Etling Center here and UIW is making that possible for our students.
And my last question for you, since all eyes are on Texas right now following this governor's race, for someone that wasn't going to vote, is there anything you could say to persuade them to make it out to the polls today and kind of encourage them to make sure that their voice is heard?
You know, sometimes people say they don't vote because their single vote doesn't really make a difference. And I guess mathematically that's true. However, whenever you are voting, you are not just voting as an individual, you are voting as part of a larger we. So if you think about your identities, your group interests, who you're affiliated with, I think it's helpful to realize that you're furthering larger causes, you're affiliating with broader causes whenever you go to vote. So I would encourage people to think about it that way if they're wondering, why does it matter?
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Mitroka, for being here today and for everything you do here at the university. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you.
Now, after the break, we will have more information about the ballot and UIW's Election Day transportation. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our broadcast. Our reporter Zoe Del Rosario is out at a polling site near campus to tell us how Election Day is looking in the community. Zoe, what do you have for us?
That's right, Matthew. I'm here outside Terrell Hill City Hall, just 4 minutes away from campus. We've seen a lot of movement here today, lots of cars coming in and out. The lines are moving pretty steady, but if this location doesn't work for you, you can check out Lamar Elementary School, Alamo Stadium, or even Alamo Heights City Hall. These locations are all just within 5 minutes away from campus. Reminder that voting sites close at 7 p.m. tonight. I'll send it back to you guys over in the studio.
Thank you so much, Zoe. If you don't have a ride to get to any of these polling sites, we have very good news for you. As previously mentioned in this broadcast, the Etling Center is providing free round-trip transportation to the polls today. Pickup and drop-off is in the Kelso Arts Center, and to sign up, go to UIW Engage and select a time slot. For more information on this program, please visit uiw.edu/ECCL.
If you're going to go out and vote today and need a refresher on who's on the ballot, here's a quick look and a ballot preview to help you out. Well, that's all we have for you for our Election Day special. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Now, please join us again for our last newscast of the semester on November 17th. And make sure today to cast your vote by 7 p.m. tonight when the polls close.
Absolutely. And until next time, I am Abigail Velez.
And I'm Matthew Faltich.
This has been a UIWtv special presentation.